Hello everyone, you are on the AutoAdviser channel. Here we talk about cars and how they work in simple words. Today we will talk about what spark plugs are. This is what a classic spark plug looks like. Spark plugs are used in gasoline and gas engines to ignite the fuel-air mixture. They emit a bolt of electricity under voltage across a small gap, igniting the fuel and air mixture that puts the pistons in motion and gets your vehicle up and running. The principle of the appearance of a spark across the plug gap can be explained using the example of a conventional battery. If you connect the poles of the battery together, then a small spark will appear between them. I will connect these poles with a regular metal pin. Now I will dim the light a little and show how a spark is created. But in a spark plug, this process is a little different. There is some gap between the electrodes. So let's look at how spark plugs are constructed. In fact, it consists of two electrodes. There is a central black electrode that runs through the entire plug, and there is a side electrode. The center electrode's voltage polarity is positive, and the side electrode is negative. At the back, the plug's body is connected directly to the body of the car itself, and the central electrode in this place is connected to the ignition system through high-voltage wires. As the electrons flow from the ignition coil, a voltage difference develops between the center electrode and side electrode. Also, in the design of spark plugs, there is an insulator, depicted on my board in green. It does not allow electricity to slip between the central electrode and the blue shell. The high-voltage current, in order to be grounded, jumps the gap between the center and ground, also known as side electrode, and this process produces a strong spark to burn the air-fuel mixture. This is what a classic spark plug looks like. This is the insulator itself, green on my board. This is the central electrode that runs through the entire spark plug. And this is the metal body itself. The side electrode is also connected to the body. The spark plug is installed in the engine cylinder in this way. It is screwed into the body. The head sticks out like this and a high-voltage wire is put on top. And with this inner part, it is located directly in the engine cylinder itself. The spark plug operates between 500 and 900 degrees Celsius. If the temperature rises above 900 degrees, then the so-called glow ignition will occur. That is, the body of the plug is heated to such an extent that it simply by itself will ignite the fuel-air mixture. That is, no spark will be needed for ignition to occur. With glow ignition, the fuel-air mixture will be prematurely ignited and various problems may occur. But on the other hand, if the working temperature of a spark plug drops below 500 degrees, then carbon deposits will form on the electrodes and the plug will foul. For this reason, spark plugs have a very important parameter called the glow number. According to this number, plugs are conditionally divided into three categories: cold, medium, and hot. Cold plugs are installed on forced engines of high power. That is, these engines operate under heavy loads. High temperatures occur in them, which reach almost upper limit of 900 degrees, above which glow ignition will already occur. Therefore, cold plugs are made in such a way as to remove heat as much as possible. Here is an example of a classic cold plug. It has a very long body, and all this body transfers heat from itself to the body of the engine. Hot plugs are used in low-power engines that operate at lower temperatures, and hot plugs are designed to not cool themselves too much. That is, the heat transfer from the plug further to the engine housing is reduced. Well, as you understand, there is also a medium category of plugs that are somewhere between cold and hot plugs. So the glow number is a very important indicator for spark plugs. It depends on the engine power. on the pressure of the combustion chamber also depends on the type of fuel and some other parameters. By the way, you can get advice on this issue and pick up plugs for your car in our online store, AutoAdviser.by. The link will be in the description. By the number of electrodes, there are 2 electrode plugs, the design of which is shown on the board, and multi-electrode ones. Here is the design of a classic 2-electrode spark plug. There is one central electrode and one side electrode. And this is an example of a plug with 2 side electrodes, and this one with 4 side electrodes. The most interesting thing is that all the manufacturers of these spark plugs with different numbers of side electrodes claim that their plugs are the best. They say that if you have 2 ground electrode, it will improve your ignition, and even more so if it will be 4 electrode. But if you ask my opinion, then I will say that the current moves along the least resistance path, and at some particular point in time, one electrode first fires, and only then, after a certain amount of time, the second. Therefore, I believe that no matter how many side electrodes you have, the material of the center electrode is much more important. But in favor of multi-electrode spark plugs, I can say that most likely their service life is higher than just of ordinary classic ones, since one side electrode wears out first, then the next, and so on. But at the same time, it should be borne in mind that you still have one central electrode, which also wears out. There is also a classification of plugs according to the material of the central electrode. This material can be, for example, nickel, iridium, platinum accumulation, or silver plating. There is also various combination of these materials, as well as classic copper compositions. I also want to note that there is a classification of spark plugs according to the shape of the electrodes themselves. There are various O-shaped forms of the central electrode and so on. The service life of plugs can depend on their design and is approximately from 30 to 60,000 kilometers. The main cause of spark plug malfunctions are the wear of these electrodes themselves, as well as the carbon fouling of this space between them. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. All the best to you. See you again.